So like the only way that you can hold somebody like that accountable is by the government. If the government is the only apparatus that can hold people accountable to any sort of meaningful way. Like they like nobody else can do it. Like no company can do it. No group of people can do it. Nobody can do it. Only the government. Like I don't really want to get too much into like FaZe Clan itself, because it does put me in like a weird position as being an org owner and criticizing another org in that way. I think it's just it's not ideal. It's kind of like a
many lucky dues you like.
It's hard for me to describe like why I don't want to do it, but I think a lot of people can kind of at least get the essence of why I don't want to.
Find good trails.
That's not smart at all. Yeah, exactly. Professional courtesy. Well, I think that, like, for example, I have no problem criticizing, like, because I know what the reality is that I know the reality is that, like, FaZe Clan is not responsible for the individual actions of its members. Like, FaZe Clan did not cause Jarvis to do that. They did not cause RiceGum to do it. They had really no involvement in it, and they didn't do anything, really. It's like, realistically, they are going to be blamed for this. Like, to some degree, like, they are responsible. FaZe Clan has been involved with a ton of really bad drama, and I do think that they've definitely had a history of like picking people up that are let's say like problematic in different ways, one way or another. And it's nothing that's like unique to like the cryptocurrency, but I think that it's also just kind of, it's like how much of that is an outcome of them being that org, and how much of that is an outcome of like other things that are not necessarily that. Drama can be good for an org, and this is good for their org. I think drama can be good for an org. Like, for example, I think the school cheating drama was good for OTK. I do. I think it was actually good for us. But this kind of drama, absolutely not. Absolutely not good drama. Jarvis matured in kindergarten. Well, there's a certain point that I also think that if you buy a cryptocurrency from a teenager whose main claim to fame that most people know about him is the fact that he cheated in Fortnite, there is an element of buyer beware. And there's an element of personal responsibility there that you should have not done that. And you need to have, like, I think that too often the personal responsibility element is ignored. But I really do think that it needs to be emphasized more. Is that the people that are buying into these things, like, think about it like this. You're buying a cryptocurrency that's supposed to be an investment from somebody who invests in shoes and spends like $200 on things that they don't need. Like, it's just, this is not an intelligent decision. Should be consequences for taking advantage of stupid people? Well, there are. I mean, there's plenty of laws. It's not like, you know, if you cheat somebody out of something and they're stupid, you know, it's just okay. No, it's not okay. But I think that also it's like if you fall for somebody with like a Nigerian prince scheme or something like that, yeah, you're an idiot for falling for it. Absolutely. And they also should get in trouble for it, right? It's not just one or the other, it's both. And I think that too often people displace personal responsibility onto influencers, and they remove their own personal responsibility of being able to be skeptical of things and not just immediately buy into something because their favorite Fortnite player told them to. And I honestly think that more of these things are going to happen because there isn't that emphasis on personal responsibility and personal accountability. Because at the end of the day, like, here's what's going to happen is that with 90% of these scams, maybe the cryptocurrency one won't be one of them and people get their money back. But a lot of people in many cases will not get their money back. And like, yeah, let's say some Fortnite person or some, you know, YouTube douchebag, you know, they look bad for a couple of months and then they post an apology video and everybody loves them again. Well, it doesn't really matter to you whenever you're down $300, right? So I think the whole idea that people fixate on that, you know, oh, it's a problem because, you know, we have to hold these people accountable, etc. That's really nice and that's cute, but you still have people that are ruining their lives and wasting, you know, money that they really shouldn't be wasting. And unless you really emphasize and talk to that person directly, I think that you're doing them a disservice. Mentally disabled people can't tell the difference sometimes. Sure, and like you like, nobody's saying that like if somebody is like mentally disabled or whatever, that it's their fault, right? Especially if it's like a, you know, if they're mentally disabled in that way. But there are a lot of people, and I think we should just admit this, I think this is very true, that there are a lot of people who do not have a mental disability that are just making bad decisions. This is not some mental illness. This is not anything like that. This is them being the victim of their own bad decision making. And I don't think that that should be ignored. Because I think by ignoring it, what you do is you rationalize their bad decisions and the things that they're doing wrong, and they don't realize that they're doing it wrong. Not much you can do to those kind of people, sadly. I think that there is. I think that if there's much more of a, like, I think that whenever, like, I saw the tweets about the FaZe clan thing, and a lot of the people that were saying, oh, I invested so much money into this, and like everybody else calling them a retard, I think they'll remember that next time that they want to invest a ton of money into a cryptocurrency that's promoted by a Fortnite player. And I don't think they'll do that again. And I think there's a bunch of other people who are watching that, who see that person do that stupid thing and get called out for it and called a fucking moron for it. And all of those other dumb people think to themselves, oh, maybe this isn't a good idea. Someone needs to go to jail to get fined. It can't go without punishment. Do you know what rich people almost never do? They almost never go to jail. Yeah, they hardly ever do. And every once in a while that happens. You know, every once in a while you see somebody who does go to jail for being a bad boy. And then it's like, look at Bill Cosby, for example. Like, Bill Cosby went to jail for like a very short period of time, and now he's out of jail. Rich people don't live by the same rules that poor people do. They have better control over the system. They have more resources to be treated fairly. And that's just the reality of things. It'll never change. I don't think that it will ever change. I think that it can get better, but I don't think that this will ever, on like a fundamental level, ever really stop, because the people that make the rules, it's in their best interest to make caveats to allow themselves to not have to follow them, right? Because again, you just expect people to act in self-interest. That's what's going to happen, in self-interest. Bad decisions but not being taken advantage of. Old people are an example. Yeah, I mean, as I said, like, I'm not talking about, you know, some guy that's tricking some 85-year-old grandma into buying, you know, UFO-resistant roof shingles that are $100 each. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that are just stupid. Like, obviously, like, taking advantage of people that are in compromised positions is a completely different conversation than taking advantage of people that are just bad at making decisions. Kim Kardashian promoted the coin. It was clearly a scam. All she got was a slap on the wrist. Well, that's because also it's a very big, so like there's all these nuances to it that like you might have to keep in mind. So like one nuance to it, for example, was like if you're promoting a crypto scam and you're making money off of it versus you're promoting a crypto scam because you're also getting scammed. Like they trick you into thinking that like this is a big difference. Or sorry, they trick you into thinking it, and like that is a big difference. Because like if you think that the person who's like promoting it, who's not getting anything out of it really and on like a tangible level, that person should also like be held to a punishment, then I think you can extrapolate that line of logic to so many things. And I don't think that's really a good idea. As I said, the reality is that like people place influencers and content creators on too big of a pedestal. And I actually, in like a bad way, things like this happening are good. Because I think that it helps people realize that these people are not these like mythical creatures just because they have like, so they get interactions on their tweets. They're just normal people that are dumb, that make stupid mistakes too. Starting fake drama, move away, attention, stupid little mistake. FaZe is actually really smart. Well, they don't really need to worry about that. Like a lot of their audiences, especially with like the Rice Gum, Aiden Ross like audiences, like they don't really care about that stuff anyway. Like they don't give a fuck. Those people just want to watch good content and that's it. I mean, like Logan Paul was promoting cryptocurrency too. Nobody's complaining about that. Nobody gives a fuck, dude. Because like that's the kind of audience that they have. So like what's gonna happen is that you have these people that are going to take advantage of these kinds of things, and this will always happen. Like this has happened throughout all time, is that you're going to have some snake oil salesman, right? And whether he's selling you actual snake oil, whether he's selling you some sort of you know, like real estate in a country that doesn't exist, or whether he's selling you cryptocurrency, it doesn't really matter, because the sales pitch is always basically the same. And I think that the faster that people learn to understand that and see that, the better. Because unless they do that, we didn't get it. Unless they do that, they'll never learn or get better. And I think that's why you have to like address people individually rather than holding creators and people accountable. Because you can never hold people accountable. The reality is that people will still watch Rice Gum and Aiden Ross and Jarvis, and they won't care. They'll even think it's funny. They'll be like, oh, he's so cool for scamming all those people, man. They're so stupid. They'll think that they're smart for not taking advantage of it, or for not doing it, and they'll think that the other viewers are stupid. Now, if they get banned, yeah, but like if they get banned, they'll just go to another website. So like the only way that you can hold somebody like that accountable is by the government. If the government is the only apparatus that can hold people accountable to any sort of meaningful way. Like they like nobody else can do it. Like no company can do it, no group of people can do it, nobody can do it. Only the government. And also the other thing that can people, instead of holding the creators accountable, they have to hold themselves accountable. And hold themselves accountable to their own mistakes or bad decisions. And the government can't do anything anyways. Well, the government can, it just chooses not to. The government is like, I don't think people realize like how powerful having a monopoly on violence is. The government can literally kill you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing else can do that. The government is the only thing that can have any accountability really at all, right? Because you can change laws and vote for people. I think I have to disagree with you about government regulations. I think that playing an online video game and watching what happens to an actual free market whenever you let people go hog wild is the best argument against not having regulation. Like, I used to agree with that. I used to think, oh, well, you shouldn't have any regulation, you know, just let the strong survive. Until I played WoW and I was the scammer. And I realized how easily you can just completely take advantage of a system and break a system by scamming and taking advantage of people as much as possible. Most of their audiences are kids, can't really hold them accountable for much. I think that to some degree you can. That's a good educational problem then? Well, it's really about kind of teaching people critical thinking and teaching people to, I think that there's a big reason, I think the big reason why people are not taught to like question what they're told is because the people that are telling them something want to indoctrinate them into what they're telling them. So it's like, question what you're told except for what we're telling you, and that's always true. It's kind of like one of these like weird paradoxes. So I think that's why the conversation isn't really, it's not religion, it's not anything, it's not any one thing. It's just, I wish people would not just, not designate this to just one tiny little small thing. This is universal. It's religion, it's politics, it's philosophy, it's science, it's everything. There's no like one thing that this comes from, it comes from everything. But anyway, you have to understand that, and this is why a lot of other content creators don't really say this either, is because I think a lot of people that like consume online content, they like the idea, or at least like it's easier for them to just displace all of their responsibility onto a content creator and not have to worry about like their own decision making, like being held accountable for like, I am the one who should have known that, you know, a 18-year-old that cheated in Fortnite is not who I should take financial advice from. Right? And it makes them like much more comfortable and secure to just be able to blame somebody else. What if he was an 18-year-old who didn't cheat in Fortnite? I mean, then it's slightly, it's not as bad, right? I mean, like this isn't like, trust is not binary. It's like there are people who I trust to do some things, but not other things. As we said, if you're dumb enough to give away your money to people who try and emotionally manipulate you, someone is Wolf of Wall Street tactic to emotionally manipulate you, how you perceive things, take you for everything you're worth. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying, right? Is that like there are so many other ways that you can be taken advantage of. New batch of young personal viewers to scam, so exposing scammy influencers on a regular basis is kind of necessary. It is. It's definitely necessary. I completely agree with you. I think that it's a good idea to do that. Too much regulation. The thing is, it's not really about like the regulation or not. Like, I'm saying that like realistically regulation isn't going to happen like overnight for something like cryptocurrency. So it's more about like, yeah, of course you should have regulation, of course you should have, you know, X, Y, and Z thing, but what the reality is that like that's not happening overnight, and it's not going to happen for quite a while realistically. So until then, you have to think about it differently. You have to think about what works at this time and place, and like what's realistic. Do you think they're gonna get slammed on insider trading? I don't really think so. But yeah, anyway, so I don't really think, like, one thing that people need to remember is that all of these content creators that are promoting these scams and everything like that, one thing that you can pretty much be sure of is that their audiences won't care, and they won't lose their audience because of it. It's not like, oh, they're, you know, people are going to find this out and then they're going to see the truth and, you know, people are going to stop watching them. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is that they're just going to continue to make more money, and things will continue to be unfair. That's all there is to it. That's life. James Charles is back, David Dobrik, and full effect. Kids don't care. Yeah, kids don't give a shit. They think that, like, there's a lot of them that probably think that it's cool that, you know, these other content creators scammed people. And that's what I think is funny about it. And they're not only just kids. I think that, like, yeah, kids are, like, one thing, but they're just, like, dumb. They're just dumbasses. Like, yeah, kids are dumb, but, like, it's really not just kids. There's a lot of them that are like 22. They're like 22 years old. That's just a 22-year-old dumbass. That's literally it. 22-year-olds are kids. Not according to like anything. I mean, you could say that, right? But that's not really true. That's a grown-ass man. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to like talk about like how old somebody, like how old you have to be a kid or not, or like whatever. But another thing either. But like, there's still like an age where you should be like, I think whenever you're 20 years old, you should be entirely responsible for your own actions. Like, it's not somebody else's fault that you do something or whatever. Like, you should be entirely responsible for your own actions. And so, like, yeah, you can argue about, like, maturity or whatever, but, like, you should be completely responsible for your own actions. And in my opinion, I think that it's even younger. Like, for a lot of things. Not everything, right? I mean, there's definitely some things that's not the case for. But, it's like for doing something stupid like that, like investing into a cryptocurrency, I'd say if you're like 15 and you do that, you're still an idiot. Like, I think any 15-year-old should be able to put 2 and 2 together. 15-year-old cognitive reasoning skill is not developed in the hippocampus yet. I mean, I don't think you need to have like very high cognitive reasoning skills to assume that somebody who is only known for like stupid things, like for example, I think that if you're 15, you should know not to trust somebody to like, let me think of an example. Yeah, manage your finance. Yeah, it's like if you're giving all of your money to your friend who says he's going to invest it and like make you more money, and your friend is a drug dealer, or your friend is a moron, like, I think to some degree, like, that's your fault for being stupid. I think it's just like in general, right? I would not trust people that don't have like, they don't know anything about, they don't have any like proven success in like an area that they're trying to do something in. It's pretty simple.